Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. We are waiting for a few more guests, but in the meantime, I'll get a bit of the dry stuff out of the way. And so it's been an interesting month-long journey. So today, this marks the 10th talk in our 10-part KL History Talk series entitled The Diverse History of Kuala Lumpur. And thank you very much for all of you who have made it. There was only one talk that we couldn't put together, Look You, because the author Neil Kaur had to travel. Otherwise, it would have been almost complete. And of course, a big thank you to our sponsors, Think City, who has made this talk series possible. And some of you, we often get questions whether you can get the slides and the video. We are recording the session, and the slides will be incorporated, but give us about a month or two to edit and upload on our website and social media sites. So, and for that same reason, please no flash photography. Don't forget to put your phones on silent. If you need the toilets, they're around at the back. And do check out the gift shop. And before we end, give us your feedback, because we'd like to know whether you like to hear this kind of talks, and what kind of topics you'd like us to do. And there will also be a QR code for donation towards the restoration of Rumah Penghulu. We are in the midst of restoring the house, and Azim is actually our registered conservator with Jabatan and Warisan Negara, and we have Katie at the back there, the project manager, right? And we'll share the QR codes are at the back, and we'll share it later. And there's also a QR code for the KL Festival Discovery Pass. If you've been attending all the events in KL for the KL Festival, you can collect your rewards points. And also, some of you attended the talk by Abdul Razak Lubis yesterday. I think, yes, the author is here. We have one copy left. Okay, one copy left. So if you want to get it signed, you better go and grab it at the back. But we have another 5 more copies on the way that you can sort of pre-order, all right? So we're just waiting a few more minutes before some guests arrive, yeah. And I was told that there was going to be a cake at the end. Yeah. Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, wonderful, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, not sure. not sure. And I might as well give a bit of introduction about the talk. Well, actually, the whole intent of doing this session is actually to give everyone a platform to give their views and their own narratives from each community. And as we always say that we at Badan Warisan, we do not put forward an official line of history, right? I'm not counting on the school history book. So I'm asking, what can I do? What can we do about it, right? So this is part of it, having these talks. And we try to cater to all communities, right? For them to put forward their narratives, yeah. And so it's quite apt that our talk today is entitled, this is the last talk in the series, the final one, and it's entitled KL Past, Present and Future. And I'll share a bit about it. Kuala Lumpur stands today as one of Southeast Asia's most dynamic cities, yet its origins lie in a quiet river confluence deep within the tropical forest of the 1830s, and maybe even earlier than that. Yeah? And Azim, who is a passionate architect, lifelong learner, and creative writer, will share his insightful perspectives on the city's past, present, and future. Azim will explore the evolution of Kuala Lumpur from its early beginnings shaped by geography and pioneers such as Sutan Puasa to its transformation into a sprawling metropolitan region. He will also share thoughts on how the city can continue to grow sustainably whilst preserving its heritage and identity. Azim is, there's one available here. Yeah, sorry. So Azim is a graduate of Louisiana State University, 1987. He began his career with Jurubena Bertiga International before co-founding Atsa Architects in 1992 with his partner Zulkaiza Hamidin. And as of this year, the firm marks 34 years of practice, earning recognition for its diverse architectural portfolio. A leading figure in Malaysia's architectural conservation field, Azim combines technical expertise with a deep commitment to preserving cultural heritage. He views conservation as a bridge between past and present, ensuring traditional architecture remains relevant and sustainable. His notable projects include Bagas Zakaria, which is actually the family home that he inherited from his father and late grandfather, somewhere in Perak. She'll share much more details about it later. And also Kampung Teluk Memali Mosque and the relocation of Rumah Chowkit to the National Art Gallery. This is the one that is also more better known as Rumah Degil in Chowkit, yeah. And he has also contributed to the Masjid Kampung Laut project, the relocation of it, which actually our founder, the founder of Badan Warisan, one of the co-founders, the late Mubin Shepherd, was very much involved in. And I'm trying to persuade Azim to pitch for the UNESCO Cultural Heritage Award for that project. Yeah. And Azim has also undertaken studies on key heritage buildings nationwide. Currently, he is involved in conservation works for Kereta Api Tanah Melayu and Kuala Lumpur City Gallery. And, okay. Boleh, can. Yeah. Thank you. So on that note, I think I've spoken enough, right? So I'm going to pass the mic to Azim. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Johan. Thank you very much for coming to this talk. As Johan has mentioned, the topic is on Kuala Lumpur, past, present, and the future. I must thank Lubis. Actually, I know Lubis for more than 20 years, and he has inspired me in learning about Kuala Lumpur. I'm also a Mandaling and born and bred in Kuala Lumpur. I'm already 61 years old. Except for 10 years being away in school, I spent most of my time here in Kuala Lumpur, and had most of my years seeing Kuala Lumpur growing from what it was 8 years after the Merdeka until today. So I like to begin my slides first by saying that this is before Johan asked me to give a talk. I was doing a book on Kuala Lumpur, a different take, but based on Sutan Puasa in the beginning and what we experienced growing until present, and what I see how it is in the future. So, and the book is still in progress. I'll finish parts of it, and I'm still towards the future, which I've started, but yet completed. I thought it would be an easy task, but it took longer than I anticipated. And I started about a year ago, and still writing about the future, basically. There's a lot of information that you have to read and learn, and various books that you can refer to. So the first I started it as 1830s into 1840s because that's where we believe that the founding of Kuala Lumpur was started by Sutan Puasa and his people. So 1830s, 1874, 1992, 1942, 1945, 1957. The way I put it at 1874 is because of the intervention of the British in 1874. 1942 is the World War II, beginning by the Japanese occupation until 1945. And 1957, as you all know, it's our Merdeka, and 25, 26 is what we are experiencing now. Since I started in 25, so I began in 2025. Okay. Just imagine this picture. And this picture is what Kuala Lumpur used to be. Although it's not exactly, but Kuala Lumpur at that particular time was all under forest. And our forest in Malaysia is mainly the oldest forest in the world. More older than the Amazon in Brazil. Yeah. So just imagine that that's longer than most forests in the world. So it's geography and also its topology that shape Kuala Lumpur. Before that, I'd like to go through what it was at 2000 to 8000 before Christ, a bit BC. We are actually under one plate. It's called the Sundaland. And as you can see, I denote where Kuala Lumpur is. And actually, during that time, you could walk from Sumatra to all the way to Sabah, and it's still on land. So over the years, 16,000, the water has seceded, and then it has become, in year 8,000, it has become what it is today. And interestingly, with climate change, we do not know how it's going to be, because of the countries are there going to be shrinking. So Ptolemy, Cassius Ptolemy, a famous Roman philosopher or writer, has in the beginning, and this is year century 1, has tried to demarcate Malaysia. Yeah, and it is where they say that the peninsula of Malaysia is called the Golden Sharonese. And it's a golden peninsula. During that time, they already see this area as a golden peninsula. That means there's a lot of natural resources, I guess, and the location of the peninsula is very much, important, and still important, and except that we don't realize it as much as we could. So, okay, from there, this is an impression of what it would be in 1830s and 1840s. This is where the first Mandailing or the people from Lukut or from Kajang traveling up the river to Kuala Lumpur. So you can see that this image, as you can see here, there is the temuan orang asli. There's monkeys on the hill, on the trees, and the boats are normally with a atap roof and navigating the water, the meandering upriver to the confluence of Gombak and Klang River. So their trip is not always on water. Sometimes they have to walk on land, and this is how it would be with the temuans. The temuans as potters, and also ox or the buffaloes to carry up the goods. And then during that time in the early 30s, 1830s, this is where how the migration of the Mandailing from the west, they call it north, but actually it's West Sumatra. They call this area as North Sumatra, where you have Minangkabau, Kerinci people, Angola, Rawa, and Mandailing migrating to Malaysia. Bear in mind, in those days, there's no boundaries, so you can traverse without any borders. Yeah, so at that particular time as well, there was this Padri War in early 1800s, about 1820s, and where the it's more like a civil war, which people fight among themselves, and those who do not want to be entangled into the war migrated out to Malaya, to the Peninsula Malaya, and then the Dutch got involved, and the whole thing broke loose. So that caused a lot of the Mandalings, the Rawers, even the Minangkabaus left Sumatra to go to Malaysia. Interestingly, I think Louis would know better that Malaya at that time is pretty much empty. There's only the coastal areas that is occupied, like Klang, Melaka, parts of Johor, and and Penang. But the interiors are not inhabited. So there are books that I wrote in the past that says that Malaya at that particular time is where people buang negeri. That means they banish. If people are doing something wrong, they banish it to Malaya as a punishment. So I don't know how much that is true, but that's what I've read in the past. And also the Mandalings especially, I'm not sure about the Minangkabau. When they're of age, when they turn 16 or 18, they have to leave their kampong and merantau. And to show themselves as a man, and then they can come back. If they stay back at in their villages, they will be outcasted, and not well regarded. So many of them, either they go to a different kampong or find a better place to go to Malaya. And Malaya at that particular time is pretty much an open area. And then the beginnings of biji timah or the tin has been discovered. Actually, it's been discovered beforehand, but in a small scale. Only in the 1950s that it's becoming. It became just like gold. Yeah, at the time, the locals, the Orang Asli, just mine for sustenance. So this is the Sutan Puasa. This is, I think, gotten from Louis' book, how they travel. One part that I'm not very clear is, was Lukut part of Malacca or not? So in Louis' book, we were saying that they landed in Malacca. And some parts, as I was reading, that Malacca, Lukut was in Malacca. So the journey is from Kota Nopan, Penyambungan, which I visited in the past. And actually in Malaysia as well, there is a Bukit Barisan. Over here is Titiwangsa Range. So they have that big hill that goes in the middle as a spine of Sumatra. So apart from that, Malaya had been attracted by many other people, not only from the Mandalings, but they have from Java, Bugis, Aceh, Minang, and the Sumatran group. So all this made up the earlier settlers of the Malay. This is, I'm skipping a few parts. I'm skipping the Sri Vijaya part, and then the Majapahit part, and also the Malacca Sultanate part. So that's about 800 years that is left out here until the 1500s. So then we are all in this country. Many of them are migrated from somewhere else. The Chinese migration was 1820 to 1930s. Indian migration is 1870 to 1930, and the Middle Eastern migration is 1800 to 1980s. So there are reasons behind it. why they migrated. The Chinese mainly the Tin Mai. The Indian migration is because of the estate, what you call it, getahan or rubber, and then the Middle Eastern is more of the trading. So during that period of time is the age of discovery. Age of discovery, as you know, is 1450 to 1850. This is the one of the most important age that changed not only in Malaysia but the entire world. What age of discovery is that people in the Portuguese or even in Spain had discovered a vessel that they can travel long distances by building ships and using sails and compass and stars to navigate through areas. So you begin by the Portuguese, the Spanish, the British, the the Dutch, all all over the world. That has changed the mix of our country and as well as everywhere else. So I was interested. I was reading some of these books years ago that in 1786, just digressing, well, because they lost the U.S. In 1776, they have to find a colony where they can put the penal colony in Australia. But the way they travel is, the way they travel is, the way they travel is from Southampton or Portsmouth to Cape Verde and to Rio de Janeiro is in Brazil, Cape Town, and straight to Sydney. And then that'll take 8 months, 8 months journey to do that. Interestingly, also what Elon Musk was saying, to go to Mars will also take 8 months. So you can have that, a reference point. So all this has added up because we are one of the few countries who has the Dutch, the Portuguese, the British colonizing Malaya or Malaysia, and also the Thais, the Siamese as well. So this is going back. This is quite interesting. By 1830, the population is 0. Well, I'll put it at 0. I'm sure there is more than that, but it's 0. But by 1840, there's only 50. So you're talking by this is the this is the Gombak River. This is the Klang River. Is it Pandan River? I'm not sure. Yeah? Bunus River. And then they join together at the confluence. The confluence actually is very well maintained by the Masjid Jamik. And it goes down to become the Klang River. Eh? So that's an important position. Not many cities in the world has this sort of setting. Eh? And it is because the confluence of the river that the city has started in. So by 1840, there's only about 50 people. Just imagine 50 people. And in KL now, there's 2 million people. Eh? But the growth, can you see here, is quite rapid. That it grows, and this is the today's boundary of KL, but it started with this purple color here. Yeah, and then this is where this is just an impression how Sutan Puasa and his gang arrived at where I believe is where the Jalan Benteng is, where the Masjid Jamik Mosque is. Yeah, we don't have any of these faces of Sutan Puasa purely because I think during those days it's taboo to take pictures of a living person. So although Sutan Puasa has lived to 1908, at the age of 90, no single photo of him is available. Okay. Then in 1860, 1857 is where the Ampang Tin was actually driving all the Chinese migration in large number, brought in by the chieftains of the various clans, I would say, the royal clans, and they were jostling for tin mining around Kuala Lumpur. So Kuala Lumpur at that particular time, this is also generated by our office. How it would be, it was during that time, and I couldn't get it right. This is probably later I show you. There's two mosques, important mosques. One was the Java Mosque, and the other one was the Sumatran Mosque. And then the 1881, there's a great fire. At that particular time, most of the houses were made with timber and atap, and it totally demolished and has to be rebuilt again. But the population then was already 30 to 40,000. Oops. The population there was 30 to 40,000. It's quite large in terms of the settlement of people for a small area. And then in 1900s, it's quite important in the turn of the century. There is about 50,000 to 60,000 people already living in KL. Still not as much as now, but it's still a settlement. So the houses then, the street of Kuala Lumpur, this is actually actual photo. It was like this. Atap houses, timber, dirt road. And this is actually after the fire in the 1900s. This is the Market Street bridge, which is now, it goes up to Dataran, and over here it goes up to the Central Market. And you can look here. I think those who are cycling always stop here to take, guys doing cycling, guy always stop here to take this picture of Masjid Jami'. Yeah. Then 1914, it grew again to 80,000 to 90,000 in terms of population. That's where the train station, although this is not the original train station, in the book that I'm writing, it has the original train station. I can't fit everything here. And this is a sketch done by our office. As you know, now here is the Agro Bank building, but previously it was a railway yard. And I think Hajida did point out in the past that there's 3 arches that's still standing, 3 or 4 arches that's still standing. That denotes. A lot of people don't know what it is. Why is there? Was there another building behind it? But actually, it's now there's no more train storage area, but there is a building, the bank building, post Daya Bumi, and the post office building. Yeah, and then here is the Padang, the Selangor Club, the Sultan Abdul Samad building, Standard Chartered, and the printing house, if I'm not mistaken. St. Mary Church is here. Then here is Jalan Raja that goes all the way to Jalan Tugu Raman. Then 1940, as you know, by December 1941, Malaysia was attacked by the Japanese, and without long, the whole of Kuala Lumpur collapsed, and the British ran back to Singapore and left. And one of the probably unfortunate thing is that the old Museum Negara was bombed. Whether it's accidentally or purposely, we do not know. And it was rebuilt with the current Museum Negara. And this is a picture of the old Central Market. Yeah, now it's replaced by, although when you go there, it says that since something 98 or 1888. But the building, when you look at it, well, as an architect, when you look at it, no, this is an Art Deco building. It can't be an 1888 building. But the original structure is this. But it was rebuilt in 1937, which is also the Art Deco period. That this was demolished, and now what you can see is the Central Market, which has been commissioned and become Pasar Seni, more of a tourist attraction rather than a wet market. And when it comes to 1957, just imagine in 1957 our population is only 300,000 people. You know, it's although it was, I remember even in the 60s, at 300,000 or 400,000 people, there's always jam. There's continuous jam until today. Regardless of the number of roads that they built, going back to school, we always have to go through Jalan Tugaraman. It's always a pain because we have to wait in the traffic. And as you all know, that this is Jalan Bukit Bintang, and this is the famous Federal Hotel, which has the first rotating, what you call it, a restaurant. Yeah, it was a hangout for many people. It's a nice. There was a nice discotheque there as well. People go now. All this have changed. Those days, now not so much. They always built this archway of plywood for celebration, for Agong celebration, for for Merdeka celebration. But I think they find it is a bit too cumbersome, waste of money to build. Okay, this is just a short rundown from 1830s, 1857. This is where thousands of miners from China, on the invitation sponsored by Raja Abdullah, arrived in Ampang, marking the Kuala Lumpur as mining settlement. And then the Klang War, or the Civil War, which I think Lubis and Kusama has spoken yesterday. And also, one of it has also included the Battle of Kuala Lumpur. The Battle of Kuala Lumpur actually totally demolished KL, and where under the British, I think Frank Santoham has requested Yap Alloy to rebuild the city again. And mind you, the Yap Alloy came to Malaysia at the age of 16. 8 years later, or I think 6 or 8 years later, he became the Kapitan Cina number 3, I think. And he only became Kapitan Cina for 20 years before he passed away in 1870 something, early 70, before 1900s. And in that 20 years, he had rebuilt quite a bit of inner Kuala Lumpur, the original Kuala Lumpur area where Medan Pasar area is, and the central market, the market area. Then the British intervention is 1874. Actually, is offset from the Pangkor Treaty. The Pangkor Treaty is actually for the Perak residents, but it became a template for the Selangor residents. So they actually came in and took over Selangor and make the Sultan as just a, hate to say this, as a figurehead. And after that, 83 years from 1874 to 1957, that they rule much of Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Perak, and before the Merdeka in 1957. The reason why Merdeka came about is also because of the World War II. When it ended in 1945, the British has no capacity to continue, and also pressure from the US that colonization will no longer the thing that the Americans, the British can, or the colonial masters can continue. When that's one of the conditions. So Frank Suttonham 1882 to 1901. Contribute, although there are many residents and later became high commissioners, were ruling in that 83 years. And until, but Frank Swettenham is the known ones. He built the Kakosa, which until today is still, is renovated, I think the second time or third time. And now I'm not sure what it is. It's probably another high-end dwelling for head of states. And then 1896, Kuala Lumpur became the capital of the Malay states. And 1945 was the Japanese occupation. And the Malayan emergency, where the communists were roaming around, and then it was defeated. And then in 1957, independence by Tengku Abdul Rahman proclaimed at the Stadium Merdeka, and it became the capital of the independent Federation of Malaya. This is before Malaysia. It's only the peninsula, before Singapore and before Sabah and Sarawak. That's why it was called Malaya. That you can just to recap back. I'm always amazed by these numbers. From 1830, it's less than how many years? 200 years. That from 1830 to 1950, from zero to 1950, it became 316,000 people living here, and now it's 2 million people. I guess that's why our roads are always jammed. And this is the expansion of Kuala Lumpur from 1924 to 74, and now it grew. The boundary grew until now. I think it's about 715 kilometers square. The size of it, with 2 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now the population about 2 million. And this is one of my favorite photo, and something that I miss is the bus mini. I don't know whether, I think all of us has traveled on the minibus, and I think I pity those Gen Z who hasn't traveled on bus mini. Don't know what it's like. It's not air conditioned. When it rains, all the windows goes up, and the smell really, really nice. And you will always go in wet and come out even smelly. And this is this is I think, let me go back. This actually Maybank building is built on Bukit Mahkamah. Not many people knew that Bukit Mahkamah was our courthouse. They were very beautiful buildings actually, but it was moved to Sultan Abdul Samad. So it was become derelict and dilapidated. So the government allowed Maybank to build this. It completed in 87, the year that I came back when I graduated. I managed to go before it was open to the top. To the they have a helipad on top actually. That you can go, but it was interesting. I'm not sure whether should we remain the old courthouse will be rather than having this building built. But nevertheless, it's now become an icon. But most of it is empty now. They all moved to 118, and I'm not sure what they're going to do to this building. Yeah. Because 118 needs people to use their floor space, I guess. And jumping up from 87 to the mid-90s, I used to work at Jalan Ampang, overlooking the Selangor Turf Club. Selangor Turf Club is where horse racing used to be. Every Sunday, it's going to be jammed. There's no parking because people go there to gamble. And then they started to do they started to do this proposal here, and I think if I'm not mistaken, the previous mayor Tan Sri Alias wanted it to be a park, whole thing, but the government wanted to only use 50 acres to be the park, and the rest is built by buildings to be more commercial viable. So this is in 1994, and this is I have the original brochure. I have to give them some credit. This is the original brochure that I still kept of by how they design it to be. Now it's different, except for the Petronas now and the masjid. Yeah, now it's expanded. There's going to be here Tower M. There's going to be a tower that is going to be taller than 118 in the years to come. Yeah, it's going to be a taller. It'll be in my book later on, but I'm not going to use the same design. But there's allocation to be almost as tall as Burj Khalifa. It was about 15 meters. I think that is just a play, but at the end of the day, they will just put another antenna that it will reach and overtake Burj Khalifa. 15 meters is nothing, if you think of it. Yeah. So this actually, if you look back, this park was designed by a famous Roberto Burle Marx. He's passed away. He's a landscape architect from Brazil. He did this design, which now if you go to YouTube and watch the channel about Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur actually, and everybody will talk about this. That's why I told my family that why don't we all go to Kuala Lumpur, although we live, to holiday, because everybody is thinking of going to Kuala Lumpur to holiday. We rarely go to Kuala Lumpur on holiday. We just live in outskirts, but we never enjoy our city. Rather than go to Dubai or Krabi. Okay, let me see. Okay, this is because in mid 1990s, we don't appreciate it at a particular time. Our fourth prime minister, which Dr. Mahathir, had thought of the idea of building Putrajaya, which is only about 25 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur, and move all the government buildings down to Putrajaya. It's built to support about 350 to 400,000 people. And it's still been building. Now it's 30 years. It hasn't been completed. Probably needs another 20 years until all of Putrajaya is built. On top of that, we managed to build the KLIA, which at that time everybody complained that why so far, why so big, but now it's totally congested. And I'll show you the plan of that. And what the white line shows is Greater KL. When it comes to 1774, Kuala Lumpur became a federal territory. That means it's not part of the state of Selangor. It belongs to the federal territory. So Kuala Lumpur became a state of itself. And then in 75 or 95, they decided to move to Putrajaya to become the administrative center of Malaysia. It's like Nusantara, but Nusantara is the only, in Indonesia, is the only capital city or administrative city that you have to fly to. The rest in the rest like Brasilia and Washington and others in Nigeria and even Myanmar, you can drive. But in Nusantara, I have my reservation about Nusantara, but I won't talk about it now. But here, you can go 20 minutes drive, 30 minutes drive to Putrajaya and back without having to fly. And the white line that this is just my indication is where after the setting up of Kuala Lumpur is the birth of, not exactly the birth of the Greater KL. The Greater KL has a population close to 9 million now. Yeah, and 9 million now, plus KL, so 9 million now. And it is some, no matter how, what reference you are referring to, it can go up to either 14 to 16 million by end of the century. By 2100, it can go up to 14 to 16. So this area, as the Greater KL, is about 800 acres. KL is about 60,000 acres, and it has a density of 35 people per acre. And Greater KL has a density of 13 people per acre. Because we have a lot of landed properties here, but then bigger land. But here we have 35, almost as congested or high, same density as Singapore. If you look at 35 per acre, 35, we have about 60,000 acres KL. So one of the things that within that area in 2000 that helped KL to survive is a smart tunnel. It's a good idea. I think it's one of the best idea according to YouTube. That and because it is not operating just as a tunnel, a water tunnel, because only rains a few times a day, a few times a year, where water rises and you use this up. But meanwhile, what the smart tunnel does is most of the year you can use as traffic. So they told you so that they can pay back in 30 years the tunnel. So heavy rainfall during the monsoon period, maybe 2-3 times a year, that you need to fully close the whole tunnel to allow for water from Ampang to Taman Desa. There's a big lake at Taman Desa where they just let go the water there and slowly let go to the Klang River after rain, I guess. Yeah, but it does not operate as a pipe to the whole water, but as a traffic mode. Okay, year 2020. I think most of us almost forgotten what happened in 2020. This is where COVID happened when everything closed down. And I don't think many of us here remember when was the first lockdown. Yes, 18th of March. And how many lockdowns were there? 3. One was a purpose lockdown because they want to close the parliament. That was in May somewhere. Yeah, that was. I know. You just look back your history book. You can. I look back the history book and I know it was in January where they want to close the parliament down, and then yeah. So since then, I think we are reaching towards 2025, which is the present time. We are in a period where we are realizing that how KL is becoming not just a backwater city or just another city behind Singapore or Bangkok. Right? So people are becoming to recognize Kuala Lumpur, and then came about this second tallest building in the world, which is the 118. There's a super tall building, and then TRX building. Then you have the Menara Petronas Twin Tower. So this is another shot that always come up that people are so amazed that they have a monorail going through the city. It looks futuristic. To us, we walk down the road and just like, oh wow. another eyesore. And then this is 2025. Now they have renovated which became, I show you a picture, which became another iconic area where people go to. It used to be a government offices, and then the courthouse, and now into a museum. So from 63, the formation of Malaysia. Formation in Malaysia involves 3 other states, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. And then we had the Konfederasi. Actually, the Indonesian landed in Johor. They want to invade Malaya, but it was repelled. And I think they felt that Malaya is supposed to be part of Indonesia. And then 65, Singapore left, and 74, KL became federal territory. And 95, Putrajaya became the state, administrative, and the completion of Twin Towers. It used to be the tallest building, and previously I visited when I was in the States in the 80s. In the 80s, that it was the tallest building for decades. Nobody dared to overtake Sears Tower. Now it's Wallis Tower in Chicago. And I went up to the observation tower. But here in 1998, little old Malaysia managed to, by a few inches or few meters, became the tallest building. But it's still now the second tallest building, the tallest twin towers in the world. It still is. And MRT, LRT projects. It's a shame that there's a derailment of the LRT yesterday. Yeah, but I think MRT, I'll talk more on that. We should continue. So this is the population. Again, from 60 is 450,000, and it grew up to 2025, 2.5 to 2.1. It will remain about this much. Then the present is 2026. This is what I was saying, that it was never designed for a space for people eating outdoor like this. This is iftar. Iftar is the breaking of fast. And this year, that people, once it is completed, people use the space to buka puasa. And you can see, I think the numbers were about 50,000 of people using that space. And the city just allowed them to do that. Not many places around the world allow it to be, to the space like this to be used. And the skyline in 2026, you have this Twin Towers, you got this KL Tower, TRX, 118. Soon there's a few more. If you can see, if you can look at the plans, there's one coming up in KLICC, the other coming up at Metropolitan Met City. I think every 10 years there will be one super tall building. So that's going to make, into the Guinness Book of, people will come to see all the super tall buildings. Yeah. Then, it's quite nice actually. It's a pretty, skyline. Although, don't go to the ground, the ground might not be as pretty, but from far, from the top, it'll probably be nice to look at. Then the future. This is actually part of my book, which I've not completely finished, but there's a lot of work. I thought it would be easy, and I needed some help. This is actually a picture of Bandar Malaysia. But one of the things that I hope the KL city consider
this in future is where the Klang River can be used as a pedestrian walkway, similar to the one in South Korea. Yeah, but they have to do a lot of mitigation work so that the water doesn't rise when it rains. Similar to what Chixiong River in Seoul, and so that people can use it. This water is very shallow, so you can actually walk across it. But underneath it or the side of it is the real river, so people can use this walking down, and put a lot of landscape. So it will be a nice area in the future to do this. And also Medan Pasar, and a lot of you go down to KL, a lot of the building is under renovation. You go to Medan Pasar. It's bought by this group of people, and they already renovated the Art Deco clock tower, one of the few in the world, the Art Deco the clock tower. And here, actually, my wish is, this used to be the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank. It's totally demolished. They should. And what I call under urban repair, just repair the facade and turn this is an empty building now, and turn it into a hotel. And this whole area can be covered and become a multi-purpose area. So you can bring people to the inner city. And by doing so, I think the effort to do urban repair should start now. Otherwise, inner city always has the problem of, over the years becoming derelict. And all unwanted people used to want to go there, and a lot of homeless. Even this area has a lot of homeless people living. Another area which I thought of also doing is that the parking in front of Central Market, they have this pyramid-like structure, and then you can do, many other things. And also under the flag tower here, you can put another pyramid building and turn that area, because underneath this is a commercial area. So they don't know how to rejuvenate this area before becoming empty. And that's, at least there's an attraction. Yeah. And then the others is, we are facing in the future affordable houses. And what I was thinking of, in the future, we are going to build a lot of MRT. And along the MRT, you can build apartments. Like, for example, every station is about 1 kilometer. In between that, you can build apartments, you can build commercial, you can build school. So you can live along the MRT line without getting off. So to go to work, to go to school, to go to shops, and you have a pedestrian walkway below. So that can alleviate some of the affordable and also the B40 housing. So they don't have to have cars to travel. So another area, like just now I mentioned, that we need to house another 4 to 6 million people in by the end of the century, is planning. This is near Pulau Keri, example of area in Pulau Keri where you can properly develop the area to become another. Now people are looking more of 15-minute city, 30 minutes territory, and TOD development. So the approach of town planning has changed. Because in the past, we design our cities or our township because of cars. Cars is before you start in your design, you have to see how many car parks you require. So car parks has take into the precedence of any development, especially high rises. So that thinking should change in the future. But I think it will change simply because of technology. There's going to be driverless cars, and in years to come, the authorities of the JPJ will question you why do you need license? You must have a good reason. There's driverless cars, they're more safer than you drive. You as a human, you might cause accidents. So, at least a driverless car, they are amazing. If you see some of the short videos of driverless cars, especially in China, they can read everything. Bicycles, motorcycles, crisscrossing each other. The car can still, without you intervene in driving. Yeah, some people will panic when you see motorcycle, cars, bicycle, along the road and pedestrian. Okay, there's another. This alone can fit about 1 million people. Yeah, this is about 30,000 acres. You can fit about 1 million people. So the good thing about Kuala Lumpur and the greater Kuala Lumpur, you still have land. Yeah, although distance is probably far from the center, that's where MRT and transit system come to play. Okay, this is where near Cyberjaya. Another sort of development, but this based on the super blocks of Barcelona. If you've been to Barcelona, I love Barcelona because how they plan the city, very low lying, and they use grids. Not many people like the grids, but they have already over the years perfected the grids so that traffic doesn't congest the whole area. So it allows for easy access and straightforward. So that alone can help in terms of accommodating future population. And this is Bandar Malaysia. We've done this in the 90s, but I recently updated it. But the sad thing is that I don't know how much is true. The developers are thinking of only getting foreign-based architects to design, which I thought, why? But the good thing is where the high-speed train to Singapore. This is the ERL to Putrajaya, to KLIA, Putrajaya, KLA, and monorail, MRT station. So it will be about a 50 years project. Yeah, because it's about 500 acres, but to have it all built will take about 50 years. Even the KLCC is not fully developed, and it's already been over 30 years. And it's still empty. Some spots of it empty. And one thing, I don't know whether still Abu Dhabi wanted to sponsor the mosque, but in their original plan they put it here. But I thought because it's all housing here, more toward the center, and there's going to be a super tall building. I just put it to be just for sake of it, a 1 kilometer building. Yeah. So here is all the monorail, all the legend. Monorail, MRT, shopping, arena, and the green areas, the mosque. And it can be extended to the cities because not far from here is TRX along the main road. And up the road is where Mid Valley is. So once they have it done and designed properly, whoever designed it, I think it should be Malaysian because it's called Bandar Malaysia. So this is just impression when the high-speed train, the buildings, it's all high-rise buildings. Yeah, then you can see this circular, not necessarily be 1 kilometer, but just to shut many people out, because Malaysia wants to be this super tall building capital of the world. Just build one, and the lake and all that. And so it's more of a balanced sort of. You can stay here and never go out anywhere, because you want to go to the airport, you just take the train. You want to go Singapore, just take the train. And you want to go anywhere, it takes the MRT. So you don't need to drive anywhere. So other extension, like here we did a study where from Sentul Timur, where if you go on the LRT, it stops at Sentul Timur, but it could be extended to various areas to accommodate development in the future. You have to think of how you're going to develop in the next 70 years, so that the city will be a livable city. At the moment, Mercer, if you know Mercer, ranked Malaysia about 54 in the world as livability city. But I always say that that is the Western construct, Western narrative. I've been to some of the cities that they link that, but I thought I myself say I would not live in the city, because they closes at 6 o'clock. You don't have anything in there. It's cold, and so it's all difficult to live in, and expensive as well. So all this, all the connectivity that needs to be put in, or some parts of it, to link the whole of Klang Valley all together without relying on highways. Building highways, there's a term called induced demand. The more highways you build, there'll be more cars driving on it, and it's still going to jam. Because once you have highway, you can see within years or even months, it will still be jam packed. Even in the US, they built 25 lanes highway and still jam. So because they don't look into transit system. Paris has now gone out to 800 kilometers of trains or transit, which is for a population of 10 million. They have 800 kilometers. We are looking at a population of 14 to 16. And Jakarta, as you know, has just become the most populous city in the world with 34 million, surpassing Japan. And sinking. One thing about, talking about sinking, one thing that we spoke yesterday also to Lubis and Ku, Salma, is that among all the cities in this part of the world, you're talking about Manila is sinking, Jakarta is sinking, Thailand is sinking, Myanmar is sinking, Ho Chi Minh is sinking, Singapore is also sinking. So we are one of the few cities that's inland. And the elevation, means the height, is about 60 meters above the city. So chances are we won't. We're almost towards the end. So a lot of it, there's more slides on this, but this is where the HSR high-speed train supposed to be. And I hope there are two minds, whether you want to build a high-speed or not. Will it benefit Malaysia more or will it benefit Singapore more? But the high-speed train will reduce traveling time from now 4 hours to 2 over hours. And it will also connect the cities that is not connected previously, like Batu Pahat, Muar, Air Keroh, Seremban, onto the rail line. This is one of the last. A long time ago, under Dr. Mahathir, he has planned this airport. And this airport is about 40 over kilometers from KL. A lot of people were complaining, why so far? Because the Subang airport, it took 30 years until it's over capacity. So they need to move. So 30 years in the lifetime is very short. Yeah, in a very short time. So you can't build. One of his arguments is that you can't build a new airport every 30 years. So the land that they provided for KLIA is the second biggest land bank for an airport in the world. The first is in Dammam, Saudi Arabia. But not many people will have that mind or vision to build the 4 terminals. I hope they follow. Sorry. Oh shoot. How do I get back? How? The airport that they built was actually designed by Kishio Kurokawa, a Japanese architect. Now I think has passed away. But the thing is, he designed 4 terminals for the master plan, which I will show. And each terminal will accommodate about 25 million. So the second terminal is March due, and they're supposed to start this year, and will add up to another 25. But what happened was they built the KLIA 2. KLIA 2 is actually a low-cost terminal which can accommodate another 50 million. So that delayed the construction of the Terminal 2. But the Terminal 2 will come in, and next will be the 4th terminal, the 3rd terminal. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And it's just a repeat from that. And then the next terminal will be by end of 2100 is it's going to be 100 million plus 50 million, and then it can be extended. So it will be about 150 to 170 million passengers. But I hope the young guys who took over Malaysian airports still remember about the plan of this. I see that they are doing all sorts of things that, they're not referring to what was done in 1998. So sometimes these young boys they have their mind of their own. But I think they should remain. Someone should step in and remain. But I added up a connectivity between these 2 terminals and connect this terminal. This is my addition from the 4th terminal, and also a monorail, so that people wants to do a transfer, doesn't have to go out to the airport and re-enter the airport and go to immigration again. So they can just transfer from low cost all the way to all the other 4 terminals. Yeah, which they have already think about it already. So I think this is the last slide. So you can see that Singapore now is 4 million. It will still now it's 5 million. It will go to 4 to 6 million. Just imagine there is also a population decline coming up over in Malaysia as well. So Malaysia, the total population will be 42 million, but by 2400 will go down to 40 million to 44. It's 42 to 45. Greater Kuala Lumpur is 14 to 16, but 13 to 16, which shows that a lot of people would, like in Korea and also in Japan, will move to the urban centers. Yeah, because it's more convenient. All the facilities are here. So, but out of that, 30% is all people, aging population, which means they are 60 and above. So that is another factor that has to be taken care. And look at Thailand. This is very, Thailand, 58 now, 65 now, or no, 69 to 70 now. But look at when it's 2,100, it's 45 by 50. Bangkok will reduce. That means KL is larger than Bangkok. Indonesia is the same as well. Yeah, they will reduce. Yeah. Philippines and will remain the same. Yeah. So this is the things that, although there are many things that I need to put in, but time was a bit of constraint to finish up the book. As I said, it was part of the book. There are many things. One of the things that I was talking about to Dato' Hajida was the Kampung Baru plan. In fact, in the book, I've already put the original plan of Kuala Lumpur. So, as you know, it was Kampung Baru was established in 1900 or 1899, but it's already past time. Most people wanted to develop it in another city. I don't know what's whether to maintain some or to demolish or make it another city or remain or let it be. But I think it's up to the government and Kampung Baru people. Okay. I think this is the last night. And I hope I can come back later to add the last portion where I think is important, the future. It's very difficult to predict the future because you have to look at technology as well. How people are going to live. Most of us here, including myself, will not be around by end of the century, 70 years from now. Maybe with technology, they say that technology can extend your life, but you have to live in a computer. So, okay, with that, thank you very much. And I hope if there are any questions.
Thank you, Azim, for that very insightful talk. Just before we open the floor to questions, there's a bit to share. Just before Azim closed, he showed the slide on the KLIA. If you land at KLIA, you will see palm oil plantations around, right? That's actually owned by the airport for future expansion. So that's the vast amount of land. And 2 or 3 things that we learned in the last 4 weeks. So Azim showed a slide on KLCC, right? The whole of KLCC. So 2 weeks ago at the talk by Datin Jun Ng and Fazluna Rosli on Lok Chowkit, we learned that who was the owner of the KLCC land, the race course? Who was the owner? Lok Yu, yeah? But we also learned 2 weeks ago, right here, by Tok Batin Ulang Sipang, who owned the land before Lok Yu owned it. They were Aslis. It was their kampung. So we had Batin Ulang Sipang here, sitting right here, saying that this was what his forefathers shared him, his grandparents shared him, that was their kampung before Lok Yu owned it and before it became KLCC. And there was a slide on the old Maybank building, and I think yesterday we learned from Kru Salma that was an important site during the Klang War, Court Hill, right? One of Bukit Rasam, birthplace of Dato Hajida. And I thought I saw a photo of Bukit Bintang, Jalan Bukit Bintang, when it was still two-way, right?
Yeah.
And there was that arch. And I saw that logo SB. What was SB?
Shaw Brothers.
What is the equivalent of Shaw Brothers today for the young people? Netflix. But Shaw Brothers was confined to Hong Kong, Malaya, and Singapore, and you can't watch their movies on the device. You have to go to the cinema. Yep. So on that note, I'd like to open the floor to questions. Don't forget to give your feedback, right? What kind of talks you like to listen to, and if you'd like to donate. So can I have questions from the floor? Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Azim. But maybe because we are from different disciplines,
Yes.
so I would, I wonder whether when you write this book about the future of Kuala Lumpur and even the past and present, you are mainly focus on design. May I throw 3 questions and maybe get your feedback? One is about economics. There is a concept of organic city. So the city become because of economic activities, and then only residents, then only population. But interestingly, in your analysis, you use population like the first social determiner of urban design. But if we change the social determiner of urban design to economics, how would your design change? Number 2, specific example, Pulau Keri. During Mahathir time, he pledged 50% of forest. But currently, Selangor structure plan only 30%. And currently, there are 5 people suing the government that you violated our constitutional rights. So if environment, including survival, the rise of seawater and all that, be the determinant of your design, would you write differently about Kuala Lumpur? And another one is heritage and also health. Very important. Because when we talk about future, we need to know about past. One thing if heritage become a priority in your design, what would that be? And health, we are really lacking the analysis of economics of health, especially if we just use population as a social determiner. Given that we have the international debt that we are bearing, how could that debt will hold us back from moving to the future with the kind of futuristic and high luxury design of the city? Thank you.
Okay. Just one by one. What I can remember was something that I'm quite looking forward, not looking forward, as I try to study, is health. Health generally, if you look at it, is yet to determine because of technology. Technology, I don't know whether you know this term called singularity. They by Ruth Kurzweil, which states that by year 2045, the power of your laptop computer is equivalent to the population of the world. Imagine that power that you have. And they call it the end of invention. So everything that you want, you can rely on the supercomputer. What I'm banking on, which I think is going to be much earlier now, not 2045, but more than 2035, that technology will help most of health problem, which means that all the sickness, like for example cancer or whatever it is, has some sort of remedy to which I hope to. And also with the rise of AI, you can see, if you look at what China is doing or what Tesla is doing, you have human-like robot that can do housework, can drive, can cook for you. I hope that will come before I pass away. So I don't have to rely on my children to take care of me. I can rent a robot. Rent a robot to do my washing, cooking for me, or carry me down the stairs or into the lift or drive me, or by that time there will be driverless car. Even now there's driverless car. So putting aside, not to put entirely, technology will help a bit of it. Even if you read that book, I read that book many years ago, you can determine how long you want to live. You can live in a way that, okay, I want to do away my life. I scan my body and everything that I know will live in the computer. If my heart is dying, I can just go to the shop, they can scan my heart, and then they can make a replacement, buy my tissue, with my tissue to exactly the same as what it was, and I'll be like 20 years younger. Yeah. Oh, sure. But that is something. What I told to my guys with this ChatGPT, they can do wonders if you use it. Yeah, ChatGPT. When I told my guys, even design, they can help. They can do design, and sometimes they off a bit. They're planning. I just told my guy, this person doing this ChatGPT is only first semester of the first year, so he hasn't graduated yet. Wait until his third year and about to graduate. The things that he can do, you can say like, okay, I want 10 design of this building following all sorts of architect, and by 9 o'clock I want it on my printed and on my desk. I want to go home and sleep now. By 9 o'clock in the morning you can see all ready. That is the power of what you can see in years to come. If you look at the cars that they are producing now with driverless car, like I said, people will question you whether, why did you need a license? You're going to cause a lot of traffic accidents if you drive. So the car will drive itself. You just key in where you want to go and they will drive you. You don't even need to own a car. So that is one thing. In heritage, I think there's a body like Badan, Warisan and JWN would, or even heritage doesn't mean buildings alone. Heritage has to be your botanical, your gardens, your landscape. They have to come in and say, this is the area that you have to preserve. Yeah. So this area has to preserve. So that what I show at Pulau Keri is just an example. What can be done? A lot of things have to be taken into account, like climate change, flooding, how you address flooding, especially in this part of the world, and rise of the temperature. There are. I can't answer now because I'm not living in the future. But in the future, there's some smart people who will probably figure that out.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think our quality of life in the city, how we move towards that, affordability, the price of grocery, our government, because government will link into economics, you mentioned, because a lot of things, even in the book that I think Bill Gates have written, that we all will be displaced by robots. And we have out of work, but the robots will generate income. So one of his ideas is tax the robots, so we don't have to do work. The money that the income that the robots are making, equivalent to some formula, that the government will tax the robots so that they can have income to provide you facilities or services. That's one way. I think there are going to be many ways. I think even that also, because of population decline, there are going to be less people that's able to do work and more jobs in the future for the youngsters. If you look at Japan, why they're not in the 80s. Japan was the place for innovation. Everything was discovered in Japan, cars, Sony, and all that. But now, why is it that they are not? It's because of they don't have the youngsters anymore. They don't have the young people anymore. So they can't innovate without young people. So in the future, Korea will face the same, because Korea's birth rate is below 1. And below 1, that means that in years to come, they won't totally vanish. They will probably become irrelevant as a country because they don't have any young people. Anything I haven't answered? Economic is based on what many things, because of population. Your population will decline. Old age will be at 30%, and then the robots will come in to generate the income, which the government can tax the robots to provide the services, the income for you, for the nation, and not for you alone, but for the nation, to provide the services. So we work less, hopefully, and not to work harder, but we rely on the automation or the AI or whatever it is in the future to generate the income for the economy of the country.
Thank you. Yeah. So just quickly, when Azim said that maybe one day with AI he can have a robot to look after him and he doesn't have to rely on his children, I saw his wife saying to him, "Are you sure?" There's a question there.
Hi Azim, thank you for your talk. I think it's very insightful and also gave many of us here some ideas about which township we should start parking our money in the years to come. I have two questions. The first one is based on your presentation, it seems like the government have plans to churn out mega skyscrapers every decade. But don't you think that this is a very top-down directed development? What about the more organic aspects of Greater KL? For example, our Pasar Malam. So how would this part of KL survive the onslaught of hyper-modernization? My second question is semi-related to the first. Personally, I observed that KL is a city of migration. For example, Petaling Street is known as Chinatown, but now, I say this without any offense, is Bangla Town, as a joke. This shows that the city and the land itself depends on cheap labor to build and sustain it. Meantime, all these migrants and laborers, they also bring in their own heritage to enrich the city. But as Malaysia continues to, in a sense, refuse refugees to work here, do you think the future of KL will continue to carry this diverse and hybridized identity? Thank you.
On the last question, I think it will. Unlike many countries, Malaysia has an open concept. Unlike Thailand, South Korea, Japan, they are more homogeneous. They don't like anybody else to come into the country. They don't like their blood to be tainted with people from the foreign country. So it's very difficult for the people from other countries, not only Malaysia, to move in a country to assimilate in their culture. But Malaysia is one of the few countries that if you look at it, they celebrate the diversity. That's how we are. We celebrate our diversity. Like in Indonesia, your name also, if you're a Chinese, your name is a Malay name. In Thailand, your name is a Thai name. And you don't learn your foreign language, your mother tongue. You learn Indonesian. They can speak Indonesian like an Indonesian. And even you are not Indonesian, you are probably Chinese or other races. But that is it's just like Singaporean is trying to make the whole country Singaporean. There's no other, but we are operating in different approach. We don't interfere in your race, your beliefs, your celebration. That's why Malaysia has, like tomorrow is Vesak Day, and the other day was Hari Raya. Before that was Taipusam or whatever. So we celebrate everybody, except for the Jewish celebration. But we celebrate all, and we communicate. We eat the food. We visit. That is the good thing. The bad thing of it, like you say, the Bangladeshi might take over. Those days was the Filipinos, the Indonesians, but most of them are on visas. The good thing is that they are on visas, but some of them do stay back. But once the visa is done, they have to go back. Hopefully, it doesn't, diminish us as Malaysian. We don't want to make ourselves into like one country with all one race or whatever it is. That is the difference. Good or bad, that's how the people who planned Malaysia in the past has made Malaysia that way. So it's difficult to change the country to adopt the concept that you have to be a homogeneous country. You believe in one religion, you believe in one language, you believe in one food, and that's all you are going to be. What else you asked? The other thing? Oh, the organic aspect. The super tall buildings are going to be there because that is the human nature. You want to be challenged the next. You see that all over the world. But the pasar malam will be there because there's still going to be 40% of the population will be B40. There's going to be 40% will be affordable and 20% will be the rich. Yeah, but that is going to be, people will go. And the good thing is that although there's pasar malam, even the T20 people who are rich goes there. Even the kedai mama or the hawker store, they will go there. They will not feel awkward or feel snobbish that, oh, this is a mama store. If the food is good, they can meet their friends, they can go. And it's open, it's safe, they will go. I always say that food, one thing, if the environment is there, the food is good, no matter where you put your hawker store is, people will go and pay, instead of $100, they pay 10 ringgit, and feel satisfied.
Okay. Before I take the next question, I'm going to give you a homework, right? Think about this. How come in Singapore, when they speak Singlish, you can't tell what race they are? How come they have that, we don't have it? Yeah.
Hi, Azim. Thank you so much for the talk. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of your future ideas around KL. Though your last slide kind of scares me a little bit because I'm an amateur urban forest conservationist. So a lot of your images kind of scare me a little bit. But just around the idea of in this future plan, well, two questions. One is, why are we talking about 14, 15 million population by 2050? What's driving that? What's driving that 14, 15 million number in 2050? And I'm also hearing that by 2050, 90% of Malaysia's population will be in the urban center. So, why are these numbers now coming up? I don't know the background to that. And secondly, then, we coming from the urban forest conservation, we talk about, why you need urban forests for cooling, for, water catchment and all those sort of things. So in this kind of vision of KL going forward, how would you address some of the concerns around that? We talk about hanging gardens. What do we do about the drainage? We're seeing loads of problems with flooding. So within this planning of the urban centers, how are they thinking about these potential issues coming forward? Thank you.
Okay. I just go straight to the population. The population is, you're talking about 14 to 16 million. And that is, even if you look at years before population growth, many people from the rural area moved to the city center because of jobs, and they left a lot of the timber houses abandoned. That is the same nature that will continue in the future, where people move because in the rural areas there's not going to be anybody, so you'll be alone. This happened in Japan. Japan loses about 1 million people a year. The population doesn't grow, and they have about 9 million empty houses now, presently. 9 million empty houses. So most people in Korea, why do you see that people only live in Seoul? Because they like to be, especially the young people, they like to be near the place that's happening, where action is there. Not only action, but services, transportation, your friends, all going to be there. They don't want to do hard labor work in the rural areas like farming or whatever it is. So they all move. Similarly, in Malaysia, our population will peak about 42 million, but only 30% of it will live in KL, but not in urban centers, but in KL about 32% about that people. But mind you, of that 14 or 16 million, 30% will be people of old age. That's the more scary part. Where are they going to put these people? They can't live on their own, many of them. They have to be living in a community where old age people are living. Who are going to take care of them? And how are they going to end their life? Alone, or people, or I don't know. With technology, they can just scan themselves and live in the computer.
There's a question here, sorry.
Hi, Encik Azim. Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions. One is on the past. I think when you were going through the milestones that the city has gone through, I think one that was maybe missed out was the race riots in 1969. My question is, how did the city evolve post those riots? Because a lot of the fighting and killing was in places like Cheras, which is Chinese area, and Kampung Baru, Malay area, and all that.
This is, you're talking about May 13, 1969.
May 13.
The riots.
Yes, correct.
Racial riots.
Yes.
I was right in the middle of it in 1969. I remember that I was hiding in the closet, and my dad was working in the government, gave us a shotgun just in case someone comes in. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, sorry. So that was the first question on the past. But my second question is on the future. And I think some people talk about aspects of economics and health and environment. But I think KL, or people in KL and DBKL and all that, we have aspirations for KL to be like a first world sort of city like Singapore and Tokyo and all that. But my question is, I think we have a more fundamental problem, which is on mentality. Because if you look at outside here, there's we're in the middle of KL, but you see broken pavements. Suddenly the pavement will stop and there's a longkang.
Yes.
It's not very accessible. And then if you look at the PPR flats, people are throwing rubbish outside their apartments and all that. So how, in your opinion, how can we sort of fix this mindset? How can you change the mindset? Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. On the first question. In 1969 riots, if you look at the historical written, I don't know whether it's facts, is that because the population, mainly the Malays population, was on the lower end. They don't earn enough. They were sidecast, and because of that, the riot also started, and also because of the election of 1969. Where more of the other parties won the election and became, imbalanced. And right after that, the Tunku Rahman, Tun Razak all convened and discussed among themselves. Not only themselves, but the other parties, the Chinese, the Indians, sat down together where the NEP started, National Economic Policy, which gave advantage to those of disadvantaged, for them to catch up. Whether it worked on 100% or not, it did work for some time, because since then there is no race riot, more than 50 years. And the NEP now has grown into something else, but opportunity was given so that there is a balance. And I hope, especially the disadvantaged party, will continue, to improve themselves so that there is no imbalance. Although there are imbalances, which needs to be addressed. On your second question, what was it? Oh, the mentality. That is, I think, has to be from the top. That the mentality has to come from DBKL itself. It starts with maintenance. Maintenance is something that was never factored in any policy paper. So you see broken. You're right. You want to be first world, but we can't get the basics right. Your pavements are broken, your drains are blocked, and roads are full of potholes. But having said that, it is better than many countries. Yeah, it's better. It's just need. Sometimes when I look at it, you need a person that is, hard-fisted and say, do this. This has to be done. Then it will follow. But you look at some other places, even in Putrajaya, although there are broken pavements, but not so bad. But they put in maintenance factors in there. KL is unfortunate. There's always complaints of broken curbs and pavements and drains and all that. Tree stumps cut but not removed. Things like that. And there's someone that you need probably a FT minister or Dato' Banda to push for that.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question, but just very quickly, I'm just going to fuse both questions, mentality and May 13, right? I'm a firm believer that don't worry about the government or the people. What are we doing about this, right? So these talks is part of it, trying to understand each other, our different backgrounds, our different narratives. Yeah. So we make our own effort. Yeah. Okay. And somebody had a question here. Was it you? No, sorry.
Hi. Okay, Azim, I just, since it's on design, may I ask you the approach? Okay, one approach, design based on existing data. Currently, the meteorological department actually has more than 200 to 300, about 300 places will be inundated in water within 100, but now already 50 years. So if about status quo, I think related to the guy questions about our Malaysians keep on relying on cheap labor. I think his question is not about homogenization. No, he's about we are constantly relying on cheap labor. So if we look at data, the current decent living is 2,700 per person. You cannot have a family. So it's like if we use data to design a city, and guided by principle of affordability and sustainability, would you come up with a different future? And the second thing is, this is even more crucial about design, is we are practicing free prior FRI. This design, like aging, where do you put the old people? Birth sentence itself is already very problematic. Why do you decide where to put the old people? The design is whether the design is decided by the people who live in the city. So if we are in an aging society, what the seniors will share with you the experience, what would like to see their life to be as an aging people. I think that is called free prior consent of the individual. So this is related to design. So if we practice this too, would that be different future we will have? Thank you.
Going to your last question, I might ask you again what were the questions previously. We're going to, this is a worldwide problem, aging population, simply because in years to come, families are shrinking. Nobody is taking care of the parents. So where do you put them? You probably end up in care, hospital care, and they need to be with their own people. So that is one thing that no country have the right answer to that. The default formula is put them to the old folks home. Yeah. In some countries like America, they have the villages where your whole taman is all people over 60 years old, and every day your porch light is on. If your porch light is not switched off, they will visit you because you did not switch off your lights. That's how they manage crudely, because they don't know whether you are alive or you are passed on. So still this is a work in process. That's why I was saying at one time just now, hopefully the robots can take over in helping you, live the life. The robots will make sure that you can take your medicine, you can cook for you, clean your house, you can talk to you, be your companion if you don't want to live in a community. You can have that choice. You can live in a community. If you have money, you have nurses to take care of you. But some people do not have that income, so they have to rely on their children. But children being children, they have to work. Most of the time, you're left alone. The house. They also it's a heavy burden because I took care of my late parents, and I know it's a burden. Although you have to do it out of sympathy, out of caring, but it's actually a burden financially and also time. So this is also something that society, the government, not in Malaysia alone, but worldwide, have to look at it, because otherwise people are either going to be homeless at old age, living in old folks' home, and waiting mostly to end your life. Yeah. The other thing that you were mentioning about in living, the planning. Yes. One thing that, because we are of different stages in our life, previously, the last 70 years, we are car-centric. You must design everything with car in mind. You have the roads, you have parking bays. Before you start designing an apartment, you have to calculate how many parking bays you have. So the approach now is the 15-minute city. The 30 minutes territory where you can walk to the nearest grocery store, to the nearest hospital, to the nearest clinic, to even to the nearest MRT within 50 minutes to go to work. So the planning itself is no longer the American type. I don't know whether you know how the American design, where you have large parking lot in front of your building and you have large highways. It's because you are accommodating for the cars. So now, you have to take away, even in Europe now, they are taking away parking lots. They're making pedestrianized walkways. Yeah, Europe and America and even Asia, they have different approach. Here, and even Dubai, here or Middle East, they are into tall buildings. Yeah, like in Europe, there's hardly any high rises where you can use pavements to walk, monorail, and that's a different thinking as well. But we can't, because Europe has a long civilization. They design their cities before cars. Yeah, we design our cities with cars. So to turn back that, it takes some time. But I'm sure it will not totally finish, but it will be reduced. Yeah, dependency on cars. Okay. Yeah, cars is something that is, and then now with electric cars coming in, I think within 10 to 15 years, most cars will be electric anyways, and that will reduce pollution. And you're right about flooding. Flooding is, there are plans, localized flooding, where each areas, like for example, each taman has their retention pond. So there are plans, but sometimes, developers will just ignore it, build over it, and cause flooding. Sometimes they develop without thinking about water, during rain, water runoffs into the drains is not enough. They should create a depression as part of the park so that water will flow and be retained. That's one part, one idea. Like in Japan, if you know, under Tokyo, there's about how many stories and how many acres of just a reservoir waiting for one event which is a tropical storm that will flood the whole city then and will destroy the whole city. But you have to build that one big reservoir, which I think about probably 10 stories high and acres, so that water, if that event occurs, water will be channeled into that reservoir and the city will not be flooded. That's one approach. There are other approach like flood tunnel, like depression in the ground, a retention pond, that had to be considered. And recently, I think the FT minister has mentioned that, all the retention pond is not gazetted as retention pond. And there are places in Kampong where it was taken over by developer to build over it. So that it caused flooding in Puchong, not Puchong, where is that? In
Shalam.
Yeah?
Shalam.
Batu. But Shalam as well. And I think they should solve it fast, because each flooding will cost them in hundreds of millions or even billions, rather than wait, no money, because there will never be enough money to resolve. But once it's flood, like one time in Sungai Kampung Muda, how many people died? 30 people died. 30 over people died.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, two things that you might consider. Like in Thailand, if you want to buy land, you have to marry a Thai, person, right? And Singapore also has some restrictions on foreigners buying landed properties. That's one thing. The second is that you didn't mention data centers.
Oh, yes.
Make it quick, please.
Okay.
Very short answer.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I said, we follow a different formula. Like in Thailand, if you buy land, you only have 30 years lease. Then you have to, and you cannot buy directly. You have to buy through a company. And then another way around it, you buy through a lawyer or you marry a Thai. That's the thing. In Malaysia, we follow a different formula. You can just buy land, buy condo, and that's an attraction for the foreigners to live in Malaysia. Data center, yes. Now Malaysia is the hotspot for data center, especially AI data center, which are huge and they guggle up water like nobody's business. And on top of that, electricity as well. I hope the government knows what they're doing, but recently I read they have built this data center in Johor, which is sustainable. They reuse their water for cooling, because they need a lot of water cooling, so they reuse the water for cooling. It received the Net Zero something award, and powered by solar panels. The electricity, I don't know how many acres they have to place solar panels to generate renewable energy. But having said that, one area where they could build many data center is in Sarawak. They have a lot of water. They have cheap electricity through hydroelectric, and they can use the water from the river. They are building so many hydroelectric power station in Sarawak.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm sorry, we have to close. We've run out of time. A big round of applause to Azim.
Yeah. By the way, my wife Haniza brought some cakes.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So please enjoy the cakes.
Yeah. So don't forget the cake. Give us your feedback. If you want to get the Sutan Puasa book, please come to the back. The author is still here. And just a quick sneak preview. This wraps up the Diverse Origins of Kuala Lumpur talk series. But on the 27th of June, we will have Robert Powell, the architect, to talk about Medan Pasar. I think he's left already. Medan Pasar is Old Market Square. It was in the area behind Bangunan Sultan Abdul Samad across the river, right? So that's confirmed and clock art with an Art Deco clock tower, and not confirmed yet, subject to confirmation on the 4th of July. I can't confirm the time. Inshallah, we will have a talk on the Guthrie Dawn Raid by Professor Nicholas J. White from Liverpool University. right? So we look forward to seeing then. Thank you.